Awesome. So it looks like we're live. We're back again. So myself, Paul Heron, and Tyler Nouwens. We've been, if you've been following our content, we've been trying to find the right balance between helping people that are walking the path that we walked 12 months ago, and helping coaches like yourself find the confidence to continue doing what it is that you're doing and to build successful coaching businesses to help support the coaching that we've trained to do, that we're wanting to get out and do. One thing that's come up a few times for us, I guess, is concerns or worries or optimism, wonder even about how the coaching market is changing, is growing, how the coaching market is at the moment. And we thought that might be an interesting topic for us to spend a little bit of time talking through, giving our opinions and, what we think are some of the things that we need to keep an eye out for, that we need to be doing ourselves to allow us to adapt and grow and continue to make the most of this, this wonderful profession that we've got ourselves into. So what I want to share with you guys today is three things. So I want to start with an understanding of where we are today and where the market is. We can I can talk through some facts and figures and, paint a bit of a picture about where I see the market sitting today. I want to spend a little bit of time focusing on what we can do to adapt to a changing market, because there is a fair bit of change happening. I'm looking at this. This is relatively brand new industry for me. If I think back, 3-4 years ago, I had no idea that this industry even existed. So for me, in my experience, I'm relatively new to coaching in general. I've experienced it on both sides. I've worked with coaches. I'm now lucky enough to be able to work with my own clients. And my growth in this industry has been constant. And that being the case, it's been constant change and evolution for me throughout that whole process. And, if I'm looking at the market and where life coaching is compared to where it was when I first became aware, there has been a lot of change. Things more recently over the last 6 months, like 6 to 12 months, like the AI type tools that have become onto the market. And I think it's interesting to have a conversation about where we can potentially, the mindset that we can bring about, preparing ourselves and being open to change and adapting for tomorrow. And, the last thing I want to quickly talk about is what I believe is most important. I could give that away now, but I might leave it to the end. If you're checking out this video, the title of the video is obviously about the state of the coaching market at the moment. And as I said, we can spend a bit of time diving into what that is. I really do think external factors are gonna, they're always going to play a part. They're always going to be sort of sitting there in the background. But I think, and I may be giving away what I think the real challenge is now, but I think there's an opportunity for us to really embrace, taking responsibility for ourselves in navigating these waters and looking at the things that we can be responsible for within ourselves. So today's landscape, I think it's really interesting. Whichever way we look at it, it is a growing market. It's, I just sort of outlined 3 to 4 years ago, I had no idea that this industry even existed. And I think there's a lot of people in my shoes. If you're watching this, you might be relatively early in your journey as well, and it might be a very similar experience for you. It might be something that you've been aware of for a long time, or it could be something similar to myself where, you go from not understanding what life coaching is to being in the thick of trying to create your own business in this industry. And I think sometimes we can overcomplicate where we might be, and we potentially could have a bias towards seeking out the negative pieces of information that can potentially hold us back. I think if we zoom out, we can start to see that there are, this industry is growing. The statistics basically tell us that between 2017 and 2022, the industry has grown at a rate of over 3% per year. So is that the fastest growing industry in the world? I don't know. I haven't done my research to figure out whether I'm in, a market that's growing at a higher rate than that. But what I do know from those figures is, and what that tells me is that it is a growing market. It's consistently been proven to grow. And over the last 5 years, it's consistently grown. And in my own personal experience, I'm introducing people to this field all the time. I'm having conversations with people who don't know anything about coaches and the value they can provide. And I think this, combined with the knowledge that I've got that just about every single person that I come across has problems and challenges that could potentially benefit from the services that we're providing as coaches. So my takeaway from the state of the landscape at the moment is that we've chosen a market that is growing. And what that means to me is that there is opportunity for us. There are many people every day becoming aware of what life coaching is and the value it can provide. Yes, there's also many people coming into the, signing up for courses and wanting to take their own journey in this industry. And I personally think that can only be a good thing. I think there's two different ways we could look at this. We could take that path of being protective and, I was here first and this is, I need to make sure that I get what I need. Or we could all work together and, share the story of the value that life coaching can provide far and wide. And the more people that become aware of that, the more opportunities there's going to be for everybody to be able to, for everyone to be able to do their thing. And if we do, if we take responsibility, if we do the things that we know are required for us to succeed, then we're going to give ourselves the best shot of finding the success we're looking for. I think one thing as well that I've really noticed that has become more apparent is the need, well, I'll take a step back. In the consumer's eyes, they're being drawn more and more to someone who is really focused in a specific problem that they're looking to have solved. Maybe, and as I say, I've only been in this industry for the last 3 or 4 years. Maybe if you go back 5 or 10 years, the general term, that generalist life coach maybe had more scope to be able to go out and advertise themselves in a general way. But I think in today's market and in today's day and age, I think there is a need to really focus on the specifics of what our potential clients are experiencing. And I think the more that we can really hone in on and narrow down on what those challenges are and how we're able to help provide solutions to those challenges, I think that's where I see personally, the need to succeed in this market is to specialize and not compete with not compete with some of these huge YouTubers with massive marketing teams and things like that that we might be seeing in our social media feeds. And the last thing I see, in today's day and age, and I think it's just becoming even more prevalent. We obviously came through a period where we had COVID over the last few years, and I think that has desensitized a lot of people to experiencing calls like this online, having interactions through Zoom. I think people are feeling more and more comfortable having services provided to them online. And I think this just creates a massive opportunity for us to narrow down in our niches even further, because the more we narrow down, the fewer people are going to be, really attuned, really aligned to the particular challenge that we might be working on. But the flip side of that is, with this global trend towards obtaining services online, it means we're not restricted geographically to any particular location. And, if we are going to go very narrow and specific in our specialization, in our niche, then we can really cast a very wide net in the geographical locations that we are potentially trying to connect with those particular opportunities. That was, that's the first topic that I was, going to mention today, Tyler. I know that we're on a little bit of a time schedule today, but is there anything you wanted to add to that first point as we sort of work through?
Yeah, it's just, you've done a kind of an overview, and for me, there's just so much to dissect in this conversation. Mm-hmm. And it's exciting when you kind of glimpse or grasp what the opportunity is. It's and that's why we're here. That's why we keep showing up and keep taking the next step forward, because in order to take advantage of the opportunity, we have to step forward and rise up and go beyond whatever our limitations are in order to meet the opportunity. And it just requires, I think it requires a lot of support, and it actually requires coaching. It requires other coaches to support you in the process. But yeah, in terms of there being a pie that's available, there's plenty of pie for everybody. I think part of the reason is because not everybody can actually step into the opportunity and fulfill the role as being a life coach. It's a lot of inner work and inner obstacles that we have to overcome. And that's part of the reason why you need the support and a life coach. But if you can do that and you can stay consistent with it on a daily basis and maintain your focus on your vision and your goal and keep taking actions towards it, then I think you will definitely share in the excitement that Paul and I have towards the opportunity in this market.
You're spot on, Tyler. And, I was trying to work out a structure for today's session. And, I think getting back to why anyone watching this video may have tuned in, we're talking about some external factors, which I've kind of flipped on its head and briefly described how we can start to look at these things as opportunities. But you're spot on. We could spend multiple sessions dissecting each of these markets. But I think what we're really looking for is, what we need to do. What we need to do to ensure that we have the best chance of success. And when we really analyze what that question means, it's it's less about what external factors are going to affect us and much more about how we can develop a sense of certainty that we can overcome and pivot and adjust and be open to change. And, we know that we're going to be okay, because, whatever happens in the global landscape, you can think of worst case scenarios, best case scenarios. There's a lot of different things, unknowns that we just don't know about what's going to happen. But one thing we do know is that whenever there's change, there's going to be opportunities to help people through changing circumstances in their lives. In better times, people are, needing to work too much. How do I balance all of this? In more negative economic times, people are struggling to, make sense and readjust and get back on track and figure out. And I think there's opportunities in any global climate. I think it just needs to come back to what we have agency over in terms of, ensuring that we can create successful opportunities for ourselves. So one of the ways that we can do that is by embracing the future, embracing the opportunities that change globally, change within our industry can create for us. And the first is tech integration. And I think this is a really interesting thing. Again, if we think back 10, 20 years ago, we were all working in very different ways. We had to be, if you wanted to do coaching 20 years ago, most likely it was in person. Most likely it was you sitting there taking notes on a pen and paper. It's a very different environment to what we're working in today. And, there may be pros and cons with that. There may be opportunities in itself to go back and work with people who prefer that method in that way, as well as there is opportunities to embrace change for the change that is coming towards us. And again, this is a topic that we could spend many sessions diving into, but one of those opportunities is the opportunities that AI provides to us. For example, products like ChatGPT, for example. Tyler and I have mentioned this a few times in previous sessions, and used to our advantage, these tools can assist us across the board. They can save us time, free up time, and allow us to get out and do the things that are most important to us. And whatever problems, whatever goals that we're trying to work through, wherever the specific kink in the hose is for us at any point in time, we've got the opportunity to really work out what the best next steps forward for us are going to be, whatever that looks like. And, using all the tools that we've got in our arsenal of tools to our advantage is something that's really powerful. We've got tools that, tech tools, AI, that can help us with our goal setting and planning and our productivity. And, the tools that we've got available to us mean that, we can set up systems and processes to only think about things at the point in time when we need to think about them. If I need to make a phone call to someone in 2 weeks' time at 9 o'clock on the Monday morning, I don't want to be thinking about that between now and then. It's just a waste of my bandwidth to be constantly thinking about everything that needs to be done. If I can trust the system that I've created and got set up, that I know that I'm going to get the appropriate reminders to do the things that I need to do, and I only need to think about what I need to do at that point in time, that's a win for me, because it saved me countless minutes, probably hours, worrying about everything I need to do. And I think they're just a couple of examples of how embracing technology and using it to our advantage can help us. And I think that just leads into the mindset that we can all create in terms of continuous learning. I've come from the corporate world. I worked with numerous staff management members who came from GE in America, came from GE background, and they had this Six Sigma mentality of constantly looking for deviations of the standard norms and that type of thing. And that was drilled into me to be constantly looking for ways to do things better. And I think that's summed up perfectly in Atomic Habits. 1% changes. And I love the idea of the compounding effect of 1% changes. If we make a 1% change every day over 12 months, we're actually 30+% better off in whatever it is that we're trying to improve. So developing that continuous improvement mindset into everything that we embark on, I think, is a fantastic way to help us embrace the future. Did you have anything quickly to add on that point, Tyler? So we've spoken about the more broad external factors. We've spoken about really embracing the future and, I guess, leaning into some of the opportunities there. Did you have anything to add to that point?
Not really at this time. As you were speaking, I was again kind of overcome with again the opportunity and all of the tools that are available. And things have evolved and changed so rapidly, and it's continuing with AI and technology. It has been a tidal wave of change, and that wave is just going to continue, and it's going to grow. And I think even as a coach, the opportunity to help and support people is in how they cope with all of this change. How can we take advantage and embrace all of the change and the opportunities that are available to us? And one thing that because I've been a business owner for 25 years, and one of the things that I've observed over the different phases in my 25 years of being a solopreneur is that it's really important to work with and collaborate with associates and mentors and people that are supportive and also are genuine and authentic. They understand that when you benefit, that I benefit, we all benefit. It's a mutual thing. So I know we're talking about technology and AI and continuous learning, but and it seems a little bit overwhelming and complex, and but it's actually I continue to have moments of clarity on actually the path forward and how simple it actually is. And it's just that we get distracted by so much, and that's what tends to create the confusion. And really, when you're confused and you have all of these distractions, you end up staying stuck. You end up not knowing what the next step is to move forward. And So I know I'm getting a little bit off topic here, Paul, but I think the point is that for technology and AI, it can be overwhelming for people. And the idea is, you can stand on the sidelines and learn about the game, or you can step onto the field and immerse yourself in it and play the game. And the moment you start doing that, you get engaged and you have breakthroughs and you actually see how simple it can be. So, that's a big obstacle for a lot of people to, I think, move forward with the opportunity as a life coach is the technology, but look at it again as an opportunity to support you and to help you grow rather than an obstacle that is insurmountable to overcome. So,
yeah. Thank you, Tyler. That's I think you've sort of summed up some of the challenges that we face perfectly there. And, what really resonated with me there, and it is what I want to try and, when we're talking about what the real challenge is, I think you've hit the nail on the head. And, what we've spoken about in the first 2 points there are opportunities. If we simplify it, I love what you said there. We overcomplicate it. We get stuck and we just don't know what to do next. And yes, there's opportunities. We spoke about the external factors. Yes, we might be sitting there thinking, looking around us, looking at our peers, looking at everyone else that's signing up to the same course we did. We're seeing distraction everywhere. But what more do we need to know? If we take a step back, we've got the evidence to support the idea that this is a growing industry. It's a growing industry, and it's the industry that we have decided, for now at least, to commit our energy and efforts in. And we want to try and move away from doing what we see everyone else doing to really thinking through, okay, if this is an opportunity, if I can tick the box that this market is worthy of jumping into, it's a growing market. We described earlier, and I'm sure many have the same experience, that we're constantly educating and teaching people the value that coaching can provide. And we also know that anybody at all, anybody in the whole world, I have no doubt, if they're going through challenges that they can't quite overcome on their own, we know the power and the value that coaching can provide. So with this in mind, combined with the idea of, making that decision that this is what we want to be doing, what more do we need to know about the market? So I think there's an element of zooming out, weighing it all up. Is this where we want to be and what we want to be doing? If that box is ticked, we don't need to spend our whole time thinking about the external factors that might get in the way. I think our best, our best path forward is to simplify, is to keep it really simple, is to keep coming back to, all right, what is the next steps that we're committing ourselves to? What's the goal that we're trying to work towards? What is it that we're trying to create? Again, there is just so much information, content that we could dive into here. I don't want to get lost in where we can go, but if we keep it at that really zoomed out, outer level, we want to be able to get out of our own way. However we get there, we want to be able to decide, tick that box that, this is what I want to be doing. We want to put some sort of structured plan in place that says, all right, this is what I want to work towards and this is where I want to be. And all we really need to understand is, okay, with that in mind, what's the very next thing I'm going to do that's going to take me one step closer? And once we decide what that next step is, that's where our energy needs to be focused. But I think far too often we're distracted. As you mentioned earlier, Tyler, we're distracted. We're looking at what everybody else is doing. We're wondering and worrying, are we doing the right thing? Shiny object syndrome. I know I suffer from that. There's distractions all around us. And, I think fighting those internal battles and just coming back to that place where we can just keep resetting, keep coming back, building that healthy relationship with ourselves to, it's all okay. It's all part of the challenge, but how can we just keep coming back to doing that next thing that we need to do? I've put limiting beliefs. What I really want to say here is, we need to believe that this is the right time and place for us, and that we can make a difference in the world, and then we can create what it is that we're wanting to create. If we don't believe that, first and foremost, no one else is going to believe the message that we're trying to impart on the people that we talk to, if we don't believe it ourselves first. And, I think this is, again, I just want to dive in and start talking for the next 2 hours on this topic. But again, keeping it really, this is an outer layer idea. One of the real challenges we have is allowing ourselves to be the beginner, to be where we're at right now, to allow ourselves to genuinely believe that we are enough as we are right now to jump out and take that next step. And again, it's easier said than done, with everybody saying you need to do this, you need to go and check out this AI, or you need to go check out all these programs, or, the world's going to come to an end in 6 months because the economy is going to go to, all this distraction just gets in our way. And, have we got any control over any of that? Maybe in some small ways, but very, very little. All we've got control over is, where we point ourselves, the mountain we're looking at climbing, and our very next step is, in the end, it's always going to keep coming back to that. And if we find ourselves getting distracted, awesome. If we actually notice it and catch it, awesome. Every time we catch it, it's an opportunity to bring ourselves back. And, yes, there's opportunities out there. And those first 2 points that I spoke about were all about the opportunities. And I think, having that continuous improvement mindset that allows us to be able to see where we can make improvements and allows us to be able to notice opportunities as they pop up, fantastic. We can make this massive list of all the opportunities that we want to pursue at some point in time. Perfect. But today, we just need to figure out what our next step's going to be, and we need to get ourselves into that place where we can just continuously keep showing up and taking the action that we need to take. And I guess that brings it full circle back to empowering ourselves to do that. To stop in some ways trying to get that external validation of what we're thinking and getting everyone else to agree with, our excuses of why we aren't doing the things that we should be doing, and, really taking responsibility on ourselves, empowering ourselves to just, again, back to that really simple formula of figuring out what that next step is going to be. Being able to lean in with curiosity about, how you went when you attempted it. Maybe you couldn't bring yourself to doing the thing at all, and that's okay. That's perfectly okay. But, what did you learn from the experience, and what can you change to give yourself a better chance of doing it next time? I think my takeaway from all of this today would be that, there are challenges that we face. Absolutely. But are those challenges different today than what they were 5 years ago, 20 years ago? As I said, I don't know. I've spoken to more experienced life coaches who do have stories around, it was easier 20 years ago. And maybe in some ways that makes sense, because, at that point in time, no one had heard of it. And it was probably easier to get people excited about this brand new thing, possibly. but does any of that matter? I think, in the end, we're here, we find ourselves right here, right now in, where are we, September 2023. And as we spoke, there's an enormous amount of opportunities that we have today. So it really doesn't make any difference to us today what was happening 20 years ago, what was happening 6 months ago even. We've got the opportunity today to work out exactly what it is that we want to do next, to put that plan in place and to take courageous action towards our goals today and not let anything get in the way. Start that process of building trust and certainty in ourselves that we can get over any obstacle. There's so much that I could add to this, Tyler, but did you have anything that you wanted to say on this point right now?
You really covered all of the main inner issues. You started talking about the external factors, the conditions, worldly industry, technology, and so forth. And, the shift for me is moving away from the external as being the cause or the influence over us, and shifting internally so that there's something inside of us, whether you call it the power of your beliefs, whether you say self-empowerment, whether you say your inner power, your inner coach, but there is a strength and force inside each of us that already knows at a deeper level your path forward. And the journey, the effort is to return back to that inner wisdom, if you will, that inner coaching guidance, if you will, and embrace what it's urging you to do. And step forward based on its, it has an urge to fulfill something in your life purpose or whatever it is, and adhere to that, pay attention to that, listen to that. And, again, you need support, you need the opportunity to be in the right environment where you can step out of your comfort zone, step out of your shell, face your fears in a supportive environment where there's safety, there's non-judgment, there's encouragement, there's people sharing that we're all kind of in this together. We're all facing the same things. Your obstacles, Paul, might be a little bit different than mine, but kind of when you really, get it down to its essence, we all kind of have the same inner struggles that we're trying to overcome. And so, it's that, to me, is what makes life exciting, is to overcome those things, to not let them stop you. And there's a lot of joy and fulfillment in that, at least for myself. I don't know about you, Paul, but I would think so for you as well.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Yeah. So just to recap, I guess, and to, start to have a think about how we can approach this topic moving forward. I think one of the big essences here is embrace change. We tend to have a resistance to change in general. We feel safe and comfortable with what we know. We've spoken about this many times. We know sort of where that comes from. We know it's in our DNA, but embracing change, I think, is a big part of embracing continuous improvement. Because if we keep doing the same thing over and over again, eventually we'll notice that we're actually gone backwards. So continuing to have one eye on how we can how we can keep challenging ourselves. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. If we keep doing the same thing over and over again, we get really comfortable with it. Part of what we're wanting and what we're looking for is to feel an element of excitement about what we're doing. And I think that only comes from really pushing ourselves and, falling over and messing things up along the way potentially, but, achieving success when it finally comes, that only happens from pushing ourselves out of the comfort zone. So, and that only happens from embracing change. In some ways, that's exactly what stepping out of the comfort zone is.
Mm-hmm.
I think trusting ourselves is a huge one.
Mm-hmm.
Where we do have this tendency again to want certainty on, we want to know how something is going to pan out before we've taken the action. And a big part of this whole conversation today is moving away from that to a place where we truly trust ourselves to be able to deal, overcome, cope, have reasonably good experiences, regardless of what actually happens externally. Mm-hmm. So I think just trusting ourselves, really looking for evidence that, we are someone who can adapt and trust ourselves, I think is a huge thing that we need to be mindful of. And most importantly, just keep taking action, keep taking steps in that direction that you're wanting to go. If you tie all this together, it's back to that idea of what we can do to ensure that we're going to be in that top 20% that succeed. We kind of know that in any economic climate, in any business, in any niche, in any field, everyone that goes into business, some people are going to make it, some aren't. But I think thinking about the things that the people who are going to give themselves the best chance of success and ultimately succeed, what is it that they're doing that I need to be doing and I should be doing? And I think these 3 points encapsulate what is required. No one's going to be able to tell us specifically what we need to go out and do. It's about us developing and creating our own recipe for success. But the only way we can actually get there is what you said earlier, Tyler, embodying the things that we're learning isn't something it's not an intellectual thing. We can't study our way to being the expert at running our business. It's just not possible. The only way we can get to that place where we've got a successful business is to continuously keep evolving, continuously keep taking action, learn from the lessons that we have available to us. And, I think it's going to come back more to this than it is external factors. So we've got an opportunity, I guess. We could keep looking at the external factors and using them as our excuses for not doing the things that we should be doing. Or we can say to ourselves, yes, let's look at the evidence. Yep. And absolutely, we should be continuing to check in. Is this industry still right for me? But everything that I see when I look at this, it is still growing, and there's still people that I am educating and making aware of the enormous value that coaching can provide, on a daily basis. That is still happening. This is still an industry that I feel passionate about. And if you feel the same way, then there is an opportunity for you to find a way to make this successful for you. And it's only going to come through, through embracing change, trusting yourself, and repeatedly taking action in the direction you want to be going.
Very good, Paul. You've summed it up perfectly.
Thank you. As I said, I do feel like there's an enormous amount that we could dive, much deeper into these topics. But, I think the purpose of this is hopefully to help some of us refocus and realign where we're putting our attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's important to keep this conversation going because it's totally essential. It's reminding us, where to focus our attention. where to put in our efforts. And, you know, that's why it's important to, I mean, it's great that we're talking about this today. And I'm just saying there is a lot more to unpack. And I think we're going to need to dive into this regularly and ongoingly. So,
yeah. Awesome. Like I'll just quickly say as well, if anyone does come across this video and has further questions, reach out. You know, if there's something that's specifically holding you back, reach out. You know, I know I can only talk for myself, but I'm sure Tyler feels the same way. You know, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to, you know, help people through some of these challenges. And, you know, in many ways we've been there, we've experienced some of the resistance that has held us back. And, you know, I definitely feel that there's a lot that I can do to help others in that similar situation. So.
Excellent. I share that sentiment. Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.